In the Aquarium fish basement. There was a lot of progress been made on the 4,500 gallon. We're going to get into that in this video. I made the biggest mistake I've ever made in fish keeping this week, and I got lucky too, but there was, trust me, there was a lot of carnage, but I did get lucky. We're going to go over that. I've got the aeration pumps in and everything. We're going to supercharge the moving bed filters on the 750 gallon Amazon Islands and the 600 gallon Asia Jungle. A lot of scaping materials came in for the 4,500, and did I mention the 4,500 is a giant beast and everything I do on that? I'll explain it later on, but let's just get right into it. Alright, the biggest mistake ever made in fish keeping, and it happened with my current biggest tank, the 3,000 gallon. This was scary and dumb. Let me tell you the story. Okay, so where to start? So in the aquarium and fish basement, I have 4 sources of water. 2 of them are conditioned, meaning I can make it whatever temperature I want, and 2 of them are directly from the well. So the one behind the 350 here, or the 3,000 gallon, is direct from the well, so the water coming out is like, say, 65 degrees or something like that. So, normally not a big deal. This is a huge aquarium. The room is climate controlled. It always keeps it at the same temperature. So when I'm topping off water, I just go ahead and use that water source, and boom, I'm good to go. But this week, everything was as normal until I got a call and was interrupted for a work call. Went upstairs to deal with that production issue. Totally forgot I was filling up the 3,000 gallon. And not only did I forget for a little while, I forgot until the next morning. So it pumped, I don't know how much water into this aquarium, and 65 degree water, and as we all know, these are not cold water fish. So yes, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, is this guy literally saying that he left the water running for like 10 hours all night long? Yeah, that's what I'm saying happened. And you're probably wondering, how the heck are any of these fish still alive, pumping so much cold water into an aquarium that normally runs at 79 degrees? Well, we can thank the people who comment on videos, because a long time ago, there was a leak in the 3,000 gallon that I fixed. It was a defect in the fiberglass that I fixed, and when I had that leak, it was, again, it happened in the middle of the night kind of thing. I woke up to it in the morning, and everyone said, hey man, you need to put down water detect sensors and everything like that. Well, I did do that actually, because I didn't want the next time to come and people be like, hey dummy, we already told you about that. I was like, I'm going to get these comment people, I'm going to be ready for next time. Thinking next time will never come, because I would never do something like that. You know, the leak, you know, that was something that happened, right? It wasn't my mistake. You know, it wasn't me overflowing the aquarium like, yeah, what happened this week. So, of course, I made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. And that leak detector, it cut off the GFI. So I run 2 circuits for this tank. One that runs the pumps, which is on that cutoff switch with the water detector, which is what saved these fish, because it cut off the pumps, so there was no longer water going from the sump back into the aquarium. So I was just overflowing the sump with thousands of gallons of water, and it was, yes, it was filling up on the floor back there, but then it was running out the sliding glass door into the backyard. So while it's not good, and I did have a big cleanup the next day, it's not nearly as bad as it could have been, because had that not been the case, it would have kept pumping that cold water up top, and it would have definitely killed them. Now that's not to say that there wasn't, oh my God, craziness. So when I came down the next morning, the glass of the aquarium was just streaming water, and it was all just condensation. If you touch this glass, it was ice cold. The water temperature in the aquarium had gotten down to like 60 degrees. All of the fish, all of these guys were just sort of huddled down on the ground, and they were all like white almost. I mean, I was like, oh my God, but I saw them breathing. So I'm like, you know, obviously I'm in crazy cleanup mode, you know, for the water, because as you can imagine, there was a ton of water. Like I said, it was running out that sliding glass door there, but behind there on the floor, I mean, it was like this deep. It was crazy. So I'm trying to deal with that, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I got to do with these guys? Now, fortunately, I run air off of the same circuit with the light, so the aquarium still had oxygen. It's a large amount of water, and these guys are sitting there in 60-degree water. Of course, the room's 79, so like I said, there's literally condensation just pouring off the front, just pulling it out of the air with that cold glass. So I cleaned up the water, and I got the GFI turned back on, and then of course I'm thinking I can't just bring these guys up super fast, so bring them back up to temperature super fast. So what I did is I filled, because the sump was overflowing, it actually wasn't even full because it had pumped up some to here and then drained out. So I went ahead and filled the sump up, which is 350 gallons. So I filled up the sump with warm water, and then I turned the system back on, got all the pumps running again, and introduced that water to here. And I didn't bring the aquarium back up, the 3,000 gallon, back up to temperature until 24 hours later. I basically let it, you know, go very slowly. I didn't introduce any heaters to the aquarium. I just let the room bring it up to temp, and it probably took more than, it took about 24 hours to get it to where everybody was back swimming around again, and not happy, but alive. And what I want to show you is, if you look on the flagtail portrait lotus, you see a slime coat. You see the light areas in the slime coat. They pretty much all were like that, and like the flagtail, it was way worse. I mean, it was, like I said, they look like ghosts of themselves. All of them, their whole slime coats were just this white pus all over them. And this happened 4 days, three or 4 days before the filming of this right now. So they have come back mightily since then. It was really just night and day. But the key, if you look back there also, you can see the Atabapo. He still has a little bit of that whiteness on his face, but like I said, it was the whole body was that way. It was absolutely crazy. But the key here is obviously having the cutoff with the GFI, because if the pumps had kept running and kept pushing that cold water from the sump into here all night long, there's no way these guys would have survived. Because the room is 79 degrees, even though the water got pumped in cold, it just continually started to warm up again as the cold water source stopped. And two, that there was air. So one, that there was the cutoff switch for that, and two, that there was air to the aquarium. And then three is, don't shock the fish. The reason they were able to handle and survive the water getting so cold is because it was gradual. Even though I'm pumping in that water, it's not a huge flow of water, and this is 3,000 gallons, so it took a while for it to get that cold. And then when it got brought back up, it took a while to get, you know, back to temp. So don't ever shock the fish. If you bring them down super fast or bring them up super fast, you will definitely kill them. And this is a testament to some fish who are definitely not 60-degree water fish. They were able to survive that because of those conditions. This is definitely one of those please learn from my mistakes kind of things. You know, when you put a water source there and you're filling it up, you know, tie something around your finger to remind yourself, do something, because the consequences could be deadly. And I dodged a major bullet with this. If I'd have killed all the fish in the 3,000 gallon, all these guys are going to 4,500, it would have been brutal. I don't know if I'd ever forgive myself for that. That's just brutal. So, you know, hey, learn from my mistakes, learn from everyone's mistakes, right? Because, you know, it can happen. And trust me, you do not want the beep feeling I had that next morning. I was taking a shower and I remembered, and I go, oh my God. And I came running downstairs. That feeling, that is a horrible feeling. And trust me, you don't want that. And if you have a fish room with big tanks, you want to know how you can clean up immense amounts of water, you're looking at it right here. An air mover, half power air mover. This sucker here will dry up water faster than anything, faster even than mopping and everything like that. These things are beasts. I have 2 of these guys. So just like every other video where I say everything on the 4500 takes longer because it's so massive, well, it's no different with doing the fill work. I say the fill work is easy. In this case, normally it would take me like an hour or so in the other tanks, you know, maybe 2 at the most. I think I'm probably 8 hours in on this, at least 6 to 8 hours in on this. So let me show you. All right, so as you can see, all of the sheathing, I was gonna say body panels, all the sheathing is in place all the way down. We are 100% sheathed, including the wetland filter. And starting at the wetland filter, you can see we have lots and lots of fill work done. Every single screw hole has been filled with the Gorilla wood filler, and every single seam has been filled with the DAP body filler. So that flows out into the aquarium here, and it's the same thing. Every screw hole on the walls, on the bottom, on the sides, they are filled in. Every place there's a seam, we have the DAP. And of course, we also have the oh so controversial channels. the areas that's gonna allow me to insert dividers if I want to. You can see here on the inside and on the back side, we have 2 sets of channels which are gonna allow us to do dividers. So I hope, the goal is that long term, I won't need these dividers, but I need to build them now, right? I can't add them afterwards. So they'll be built in place, and what they'll allow me to do is, in the early stages of this aquarium, to sort of have a grow out estuary area here for the mini monsters, and you know, maybe they can transition to here as they get bigger, and then finally end up here in the 16-foot section as monsters. And then as time goes by, I can pull those dividers so we can go from maybe 3 sections to 2 sections, and then hopefully just one massive 33-foot long Xingu River aquarium, all full of monsters. And then if something were to happen, we always have that flexibility where we could, you know, put in a divider over here and separate somebody off for whatever reason. And maybe if it's just to give me time to figure out a solution to move a fish to another tank, you know, one thing for me that's important is that I provide a home for life for these fish. And when you're dealing with big fish, you have to have some precautions in place. You just can't assume that everything will always go well forever. So we're building in a little bit of flexibility so we have some options if something should happen. Okay, so after 8 hours of fill work, what comes next? A little bit of light sanding and some vacuuming, but then we get straight into fiberglassing. Let me show you. Okay, so we know we have lots and lots of the 1.5 ounce fiberglass mat, which is the type of fiberglass you want to use if you're trying to build strength. There is other types of fiberglass mat where it's like woven and things like that. Those have other purposes, but for just pure strength, this is what we're working with. And of course, we have the actual resin and the hardener. And you're also going to need lots and lots of mixing kits, and lots and lots of applicators or paint kits to get that on there. So, what are we going to be fiberglassing? Well, the short answer is the entire inside of this aquarium. But the focus is, first we'll start on all the seams. So from where the back of the aquarium meets the bottom of the aquarium, where one wall meets the other wall, you know, where it meets the front here, the framing, all of that will be fiberglass first, all the way down, and then of course we will fiberglass the entire inside of the wetland filter. Then we will come back and we will fiberglass all of the walls. So every screw hole will be behind fiberglass, and then lastly, we will fiberglass the heck out of the bottom of the aquarium. And the reason I call that out separate, and I say the heck there, is because the most pressure on the aquarium is at the bottom of the aquarium. As you go up, you get less and less water pressure. So technically, if you had a deficiency, it's better to have it up top than to have it at the bottom. So we get all of that other stuff done, and then we concentrate on that bottom, and we get multiple coats of fiberglass, and we do nice poured resin where we have a super thick, strong base, as well as where that base connects to the wall, so that bottom seam. So we're gonna, you know, break it up into chunks so we can focus on the different areas and make this thing incredibly strong. And then, of course, we will jump into the wetland filter, and again, once again, fiberglass the entire thing. Although it'll be full of aggregate, it'll also be full of water, so all the same things that apply out here, they apply in the wetland filter as well. And once we're done with fiberglassing, we're gonna start on the pond shield. And the cool thing is that all the pond shield is already here. So we have 4 kits, 4 gallons of the first coat, which is gonna be an ugly color, the cheapest color I could find, which in this case is a blue color. And the top coat, which is gonna be black. And that costs a little more, but that's what we want it to look like. So why do we use, 2 different colors? Well, so that when we put the first coat on, we save a little money by choosing whatever the cheapest color at any given time is. And 2, when we go to put the top coat on, we can see where we have or have not already painted because we're dealing with different colors. So yeah, that is the reasoning behind that. And that will be pretty exciting because once the epoxy goes in, then we're talking glass installation. And then you're talking water fill. So yeah, we're getting close, but we have one big hurdle left, which is the fiberglassing. And that's where we start on that now. That's what's gonna take the strength of this beast over the top and make this thing bulletproof. And yes, when I say bulletproof, I'm knocking on wood, but I'm doing my best to make it as strong as possible. Anything could happen, but again, doing everything I can to make sure it doesn't. So I'm gonna get going on this fiberglass work, and yeah, then we'll take a look. So just like I have in the 125-gallon Malawi River Aquarium, I have a moving bed filter as the first part of the filtration for the 600-gallon. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be supercharging these guys by adding a whole bunch of aeration in there to get this thing really churning. Because as you can see right now, we're just using the water draining down, and it's only a little bit. A little better over here, but still not as good as it's going to be after we add this guy right here. So 32 bucks each on Amazon, and it's these Aqua Neat air pumps with the tubing and all the air pucks and everything like that. And I do have a few of these, and they've been good, been running for years, and they're quiet, which is a big deal to me because some of those cheap air pumps on Amazon are noisy as all get out and put out a ton of heat. These don't. So yeah, this seems like a pretty good solution. 32 bucks each to get these guys supercharged. So let me get these installed and I'll take a look. Okay, they're installed. The airline that came with it was crap, but fortunately I have some from Aquarium Co-op. That's really nice airline. But the kit itself, nice. Now that is a moving bed. That is much, much better than what we had going on before. And the same story over on the 750. Now we're getting some action out of that filter. So that's going to be much more efficient just with the introduction of a little bit of air. All right, as you can see, things are starting to get hot and heavy here in the fish room annex. We've got a lot of epoxy work going on there, a lot of fiberglassing. Oh, and some of those aquascape materials I was talking about. I'm not kidding about the aquascape. It is going to be immense. All right, so where am I at now? Fiberglassing, my favorite part. Holy cow. So you know how I always say with this tank, everything is taking so much longer, it's just so much bigger. I was doing fiberglass, the first section of fiberglassing, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just taking forever. It's like, I've been working on this, sweating, I've used, 2 containers of the resin, and I've only got this far, and then I'm like, you know what? This is 4,500 gallon builds. So I'm like, I can't compare building 750 gallons to this thing. It's like, there's 1,000 gallon, there's 1,000 gallon, there's 1,000 gallon, there's 1,000 gallon, it is just crazy the scale. So I toned it back some and I said, all right, I got to work on this just each day, just section, and keep in mind that it's massive. I just can't treat this like a normal build. It is not a normal build. So what have I got done so far? This is 100% fiberglass, the whole wall, the corner, and the back over to here. And what I'm actually doing is 3 parts. So I fiberglass the whole vertical panel. Oh, actually, let me take that back. I fiberglass the vertical corners, just the corners and the seams, anywhere there's a seam, all the way around. And then I go back and I fiberglass the entire panel, so over top of it. So if you look at the seam over here, there's fiber, the seam itself is fiberglassed, and then on both sides, it's fiberglassed over top of the seam. Same with over here. And then I do the same thing on the bottom. Even though I fiberglass the wall down over the seam, I then fiberglass just the seam again, and then I fiberglass the bottom, again covering the seam. So the seams actually get 3 coats of fiberglass. And then the bottom of the aquarium, when I say I do these seams themselves, I basically go down and I come out pretty far on both sides. So even the floor essentially is going to end up with 2 to 3 coats of fiberglass itself. So basically what's going to happen is I keep working my way, doing all of the back wall all the way around. Then I go inside, then I do the front lower part and the pillars and everything with fiberglass all the way across the front. Then I go back and I work on the floor, and then lastly the wetland filter box. So there's still a lot of work to go, but believe it or not, a lot of work has been done. I mean, if I were building a couple 1,000-gallon aquariums, I'd already be done. But so this is the progress as of filming here. But so basically what you're going to see in the next installment is, you know, the continuation of the fiberglass and possibly maybe even the first coat of epoxy. We'll see. But as you can tell, I have a lot of materials here, so I am cranking away, and yeah, this thing is going to be a tank. Well, I mean, like a military. It's going to be strong. All right, so the goal from now to the next episode is to get all this fiberglass work done and get started on that epoxy top coat and not kill all my fish. Yeah, that's the plan for now. Thanks for watching, and patrons and members, thank you very much for the support. See you next time.